Thank the chairman for yielding and especially for bringing this legislation that I'm proud to be a co-sponsor of. If you look at air quality, it's improving right now. According to the EPA, total emissions of toxic air pollutants have decreased by approximately 42% between 1990 and 2005. So air quality is improving. This administration wants to actually go and do things that will actually not only harm the economy, but harm people. And we were just talking about health. The gentleman from California was talking about health. Who are going to be the people that suffer the most from the kinds of regulations that we're seeing being proposed by the Obama administration through EPA? It's poor people. Poor people who want to be able to afford heat in these winters. They don't want to talk about global warming anymore because we had record freezing last week. And the people that are hurt by that the most are poor people who won't be able to afford those increases in prices. These things they're proposing aren't free. They're actually incredibly costly, unproven, and will actually hurt poor people, make it harder for them to warm themselves when it's freezing. Again, they don't want to talk about global warming. You know how cold it was last week? It was so cold that it was reported that in Chicago, the polar bears couldn't even go outside because it was too cold. It was too cold for polar bears last week. And they want to actually make it harder for poor people to heat their homes. We've got common sense legislation that says if you can prove scientifically that this ought to be done and can be done, then just go through the normal legislative process. You know, when I took civics, Congress was the one that supposedly made laws. The executive branch carried out the laws. We've got an executive who thinks
we have a law that you want to stop.
We have an executive who thinks that he writes the law.
You have a law that you want to repeal.
As it relates to the health care law, he wants to go write laws. If he has a problem that his law is creating, he'll just change the law himself. Who needs Congress? There's a legislative branch that the Constitution says is the body you go to, the people who were elected to make policy. And we debate that policy. And if it's so important that the law needs to be changed and the standards need to be changed, even as the EPA is saying air quality is improved by 42%, if they think there's a problem, come before Congress and state your case. But in the meantime, we deal with the real impacts. As Mr. Griffith said, when this administration makes changes unilaterally that cost jobs, that run jobs off to foreign countries, it's not like it all happens in a vacuum. Those jobs that will then be shifted to China, the higher electricity costs that will be imposed on poor people are going to hurt them directly, but then the jobs that hurt our economy go to places like China where they don't have the environmental standards we have. They don't have that 42% improvement in air quality that we have. We have good standards because of the policy debates here, not because some president says, I want to act unilaterally. Congress tried to pass cap and trade under a Democratic-controlled House and Senate, and they couldn't do it. So this is the legislative body. This is how it's supposed to be handled. But just remember that as this administration wants to do other things outside of the realm of what Congress intended, they have devastating impacts on poor people and on our economy, and then those jobs that are shifted, the carbon leakage that occurs when these jobs go to Brazil and when they go to China and when they go to India. Those countries don't have our standards, yet all of that carbon goes up in the same atmosphere. So just think about the damage you're doing if you're opposing this legislation that says common sense standards should apply, and if changes need to happen, go through Congress. Come to the elected body of the people and state your case in a transparent and open fashion. This is an administration that promised to be the most transparent ever, and yet they want to do things more and more behind closed doors, administratively, where they don't even have the legal authority. So let's get back to a regular order where the legislative process is respected again, where the will of the people of this country is respected again, and where the impact of these devastating policies on the very most vulnerable, the poor people, are considered with all of the other impacts, and respecting the fact that even according to the EPA, we have a 42% improvement in air quality. We don't want to hurt that progress by taking a step backwards. So I thank again the gentleman for bringing this bill, and I yield back the balance of my time.